Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we'll be talking about how to make emotional future-based chord progressions. Okay, so generally I just like to start off with like the most classic chord progressions that you usually hear probably in like popular like EDM songs in general, or maybe even popular like pop songs and stuff. But we're gonna do everything in the key of C just to make things easier. But yeah, generally I have like my go-to chords, and then I just kind of like mess around with them to see, or like, you know, try different chord progressions to see which ones I kind of like want the most, or which kind of vibe I'm going for basically. So the first classic one is, I'm pretty sure you've heard this numerous times, is the A, F, and then C, G chord. So these are the bass notes. So this is what it sounds like. So yeah, again, I'm pretty sure you heard this one. It's a very popular classic future-based chord progression. And then the next one that I usually like to go to is the F, C, and then A, and G. And then another one is the, I believe it was D, and then F, and then the one that we're going to actually kind of go through today is going to be D, A, and then C, and then ending in G. Alright, so pretty much usually how I start my chords is I'll kind of like either establish a bass note, or just kind of have the root note of the key. So the root note or the tonic of the key is the 1. Again, we're in C major, so that will be C. And then I usually just have that drone throughout the entire time. And then after that, I just kind of like build up the chords a bit more. So sometimes I might just start with, you know, because I've done this so many times now, sometimes I just kind of like start with a C and then just like start throwing in, you know, the chord progressions that I go to. So, you know, whatever like helps you, you definitely just, you know, do what works best for you. But yeah, after I do that, you know, I basically take all these and then move it up 7 semitones, which makes it the 5th of the chord, of each chord basically. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now you have the 5th of each chord, and it sounds like this. Or you can maybe move this one down too, kind of just up to you. See. Yeah, I kind of like it a little bit more lower, I guess, because sometimes when you have the C this low, sometimes like later, like in the drop and stuff, it might get a little muddy with the whole bass and stuff like that. So but that's a whole nother topic. And then next up, generally I don't do this anymore because, again, I've already pretty much like almost memorized everything at this point. But usually I like to have the 3rd note of the chord be the leading tone of like the melody of the chord or something like that, or whatever it's called. And generally, to make a 3rd, it's not always going to be on every chord. It's mainly just like the majors, and then the minors, I think, is 3 semitones up. You'll definitely see in a sec, but basically to make a 3rd for the majors, you just move it up 4 semitones. Major chords, that is. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. But the thing is, we have 2 minors here, which is the D minor and the A minor. So this is going to make it to be in I believe a different key. I don't know the theory behind it, but basically, you know, this is what happens. Yeah, so that's not going to work out. So since these both are minor chords, we have the D minor and the A minor. You just basically move that 3rd down 1 semitone. So for the minors, 3 semitones up, and then for the majors, 4 semitones. So we have the major here. Right now it sounds a little bit muddy. That's why you usually don't want to just leave the 3rds here. I just kind of wanted to show you like what it would sound like. But basically what I do with these is generally, and like I said, I don't really, you know, do this anymore because I remember at this point I know how to do it, but just kind of moving it up. We already had a C there, and this is what it's going to sound like if you left the third of each chord down here. That can definitely work too. I've actually done in some of my previous tracks where I'll also show you how to do later. But basically, I have the fifth of the key droned throughout each chord, and that will definitely work just fine too. However, for this one in particular, I liked it again to make the leading tone, and then this one you can just honestly leave there or up there, and then from there I just kind of like add notes to taste. So again, because I've done it so many times. So yeah, right there you already have a pretty solid like chord progression there. You can leave it like that and you'll be just fine, or you can even add more. So I'm gonna add some more here. Right there, I would honestly just leave it like that for a lot of my chord progressions, but again, you can definitely continue going more if you like. Another thing that I like to do, and which you may have seen already in my previous videos, is just adding the fifth of the key, or I think it's called the dominant. Could be completely wrong. I actually don't really know what it's called, but basically when you use the 1 of the key and the 5 of the key, generally is a safe note, and you can pretty much use it throughout every chord. And to basically make the fifth in your chords, again, we're in the key of C major, and in the key of C major, as you probably already know, it's just all of the white notes. We're basically just going to count from 1, which is a C, and all the way to the 5. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's your fifth right there. You can even leave it up at this octave too. That's gonna be up to you, but generally I like it just down here, and then there you go. You pretty much have your fifths. And once again, like, you don't have to do this either. Earlier could have just been fine too. Just kind of like what you like the most. But this is what happens when you add up the fifths there. And then additionally, you can even like, rather than doing the fifths of the chord, you can just make it like an octave. So like an octave of D would be D2, and just have like this. And then one more thing that I've been kind of like recently incorporated into one of my tracks that I'm working on, is including the 1 or the safe note again, but down an octave. But I think when you do this, you got to be a little bit careful, just because like if this is at a too low of an octave, you may have that same like muddiness again, like how we did it when we had like the thirds like way down in the first octave. So just want to be careful when you do this. I'm gonna actually just move it up in case that happens to a different key. So we're just gonna do. So yeah, in this case, you can actually even like again just drone the 1. In this case, because we were in the key of B flat, I moved it to B flat from C and just pushed it up everything up an octave. And then so we have the 1, and then the 5 of the key, and then the 1 again, and then it'll just kind of sound like this. So that can definitely work too. You can even try just kind of messing around with the different octaves and stuff. So that's another thing. I'm gonna go back to what we had earlier. Yeah, so now we're back to kind of like where we originally started without the fifths and the fifth of the key and then the 1 of the key on the bottom here. We're just back to just having the 1 here and back to the C major key. So generally here again, like, you can pretty much just go like this with your chord and don't really have to add anything else. And then from there, I would kind of like just move it to a certain key that I wanted to kind of like fit the vibe that I'm looking for. So in this instance, I kind of liked it at this key here, and then you have this vibe. And then basically after that, I kind of just like duplicate it. You can also add like some variation to kind of like change up the chord a little bit, like I don't know, here. So yeah, it kind of like changes it up a little bit, just to give it a bit of variation. But yeah, that's pretty much it for like in terms of like, you know, making the chord voicings and stuff like that. Next up is like, you know, adding a bit more tension or maybe rhythmic interest to your chords, where you can actually add like little like melodies in your chords, which is something that I learned from Nurko, basically, probably in many of his tracks, I would think. But specifically in Disappearing Now, he has like melodies in his piano during the breakdown, and I think even before that. But yeah, I'll kind of like give you a preview of like kind of like what I crafted by just like adding some, you know, notes here and there to kind of like bring that tension in this like orchestra thing. Like, you know, you can even like in this particular instance, like, you know, this is like your build-up, for example, and you have like your vocal chop melody or lead melody kind of like, you know, auto filtering up. You can actually for example, if you had a piano or some type of like horn instrument, you can actually like put in the same melody and have that follow along with your lead. And you can even like rhythmically do the same thing too, depending on like, you know, what you want and stuff like that. But basically here, you know, I didn't really like do anything too crazy. That I created like, you know, a melody, like a leading melody like you would hear in a drop or anything like that. But I did add more notes to kind of like add to that tension. So basically we have practically the same chord progression as I just showed you, but I added this G here. So kind of like, you know, whatever that does or makes you feel. And then I added this F here, and then this A sharp. And the reason why I kind of like chose these particular notes is just because like it kind of evoked a certain emotion that I wanted in the chord stack. So that's like just really the reason why I chose them. And then this one is pretty much the same thing. I just kind of like let this note drone out longer. And yeah, I mean, in the string, I might have just like changed one note here. But pretty much like the rest of the chords are the same thing. So that's something that you can definitely do to like, you know, add more emotion to your track or tension, and then even just like kind of like changing the rhythms of the piano a little bit can also add more tension. Again, I would suggest like even like writing in your lead melody or you know, whatever melody, or even like kind of like matching the rhythm of the singer or something like that can help add a lot of tension. I don't necessarily have a lead here, so there's no melody that I'm kind of following, but so yeah, that you can kind of hear that, like, you know, that rhythm kind of like adds to that tension. And honestly, I think without even like trying or anything like that, that kind of sounds like the Blind Spot chord stack a little bit. I don't think it's 100%, but a little bit. But yeah, honestly, I think that's going to be it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching. If you did find it helpful or enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and then also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Hit the bell notification symbol so you know when my next video goes live. Definitely got a lot more future-based production or production tips, type of EDM production videos definitely coming up soon. And then also follow me on my social media. I post shorter like version production tips on there. So if you like videos on here, you'll definitely like my videos there. And then join the Discord server. I'm looking to like create a like-minded community where we can all like help each other grow in terms of like production. We can all like, you know, give each other feedback and just really all improve overall as a producer. So if that's something you want to join or, you know, find interesting, definitely join that. As always, I will leave the link in the description below. Thank you so much again for watching. Until next time, much love. Peace out.